and welcome to the Divorce Women's Guide podcast, where we talk about the things us divorcees are thinking, but not always talking about, as we turn our divorce into the best gift we've ever been given. And I do so with a little bit of sass and a whole lot of class. I am your host, Wendy Sterling, founder of the Divorce Rehab. I am here to support you in this transition phase of your life so you can start your new best chapter on your own terms. After all, that's what I did after my own divorce. And now it is my mission to change the conversation around divorce and help you see why your divorce, like mine, was the best gift you ever received. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Divorced Woman's Guide podcast. I am so happy that you have tuned in today because I am here with my dear, dear friend, Jill Sherer Murray. Hello, Jill. How are you?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you today, Wendy. We're going to have a good chat. We're going deep.
We are going to go deep, everybody. And Jill and I are going to talk about her brand new book called Big Wild Love, The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go. Everybody has got to buy and read this book. I don't care where you are in your process. It is incredible. And Jill, before we dive in and talk about, I had to cut down my list because I feel like we could have 2 podcast episodes about this book,
right?
Which maybe we should think about doing. But I wanted to just share a little bit about you with everybody here listening. So Jill is a TEDx speaker and an influencer, an author, a blogger, a coach, and the founder of Let Go For It, which is a lifestyle brand dedicated to helping individuals let go for a better life and businesses let go for better communications. She is also an award-winning journalist and communications leader who can trace practically every success she's had in her career, love life, and more to letting go. Her TEDx talk, I just got goosebumps. Her TEDx talk, The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go, has been viewed by millions of people. And as I said and showed you guys, she wrote her new best-selling book, Big Wild Love, The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go, in response to many people who've reached out to her for help and inspiration after seeing her TEDx talk and in various media and podcasts. And I'm showing it again with my tabs because I absolutely love this book. I love how candid you are in sharing your stories. Jill also shares stories of clients and people that she has interacted with who have had the experiences like Jill has had. So before we get into the good stuff, really, this book was born from your own personal story, your own experience. Yes. And I would love for you to share with everybody listening today how it was that story literally changed your life in ways that, I'm sure you're sitting here even today going, God, I never saw this coming when I made this decision. So I would love for you to share that with our audience, please.
That story has changed my life. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. It's just incredible. First living the actual story. Sure. So, being in a long-term relationship, 12 years with an amazingly wonderful guy who just didn't want what I did. And I wanted to get married. And, I always say marriage is not the end all be all, not everybody wants to do it, which I don't miss the irony being on a divorce podcast, about marriage. But it was something I wanted to experience in my lifetime and he didn't want it. And it took me literally 12 years to allow myself to really see the truth of that and let him go. And I talk about in my book, I give a lot of detail around sort of how I arrived at that moment, which, all of the letting go begins really truly at an epiphany moment. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of that.
Yeah.
And so, once I decided to let go of this person, and I talk about him on my TEDx, but so many people had written to me they wanted more details around what happened and how did you get here and how did you do this? So once I let go, I really, had a very huge moment of self-examination on steroids, literally.
Yeah.
It was like the first time in my life, I think I really and genuinely and authentically looked in the mirror and asked myself a lot of hard questions. And I will say, Wendy, that, I'd had counseling before, I'd had therapy, I went through that process, but in all honesty, I didn't do what I did, even in therapy, what I did in that moment where I really had a moment that things had got to change. And so I went through this process of self-examination that really led me to understand more about why I chose that situation and why I stayed as long as I did and why I was so afraid to leave it and what I believed about myself to be true that kept me there. For the first time of my life, instead of asking, why didn't they love me, be right to me, stay with me, give me what I wanted, conform to my way of seeing and being in the world, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything ever. It's always about us, never about them. I finally understood a lot of really hard and very, very critical truths about myself. And once I understood those truths about myself, what I believed, what I thought was possible, what I thought was available to me, how I saw myself in love and the world and relationships, I was able to create change. And then as I moved forward in life and experienced the death of somebody that I loved, I decided that, we're not going to be here forever. I'm going to get on the biggest, baddest stage of the day and talk about why everybody should let go of everything that is not serving them in their lives, like right away, when I actually shared this story. And I've never really said this, but that talk was really not about love. It was really about the power of letting go. But when I told this story, because so many people are struggling in love, and it's such an important, huge aspect of our lives, that I started to hear from people all over the world. And I'm going to tell you that wherever you live, I'm hearing from people in countries I can't even pronounce. Like, I don't even know where that is. And we all are struggling with the same shit in love. It does not matter. I'm getting the same questions over and over and over. I'm getting, how did you do this? And why did you go here? And how did you know it was time to let go? And when did you finally do it? And what do you need to do it successfully? And how do I do this? And then how did you go on and find the person? How did you do all of this? And so finally, I could not give all the answers in a DM anymore on Instagram or, a messenger on Facebook. And I was like, okay, here's the book, and did you feel this way? And did you go through this when you were letting go? Well, yes. I don't even know what your question is, listener, but if you're asking me that question, yes, especially in this, for your purposes, Wendy, like the post moment, right? Like, I'm divorced now what? How am I supposed to feel? So it's not just about letting go. It's also about how do I let go and then move on to have things that I don't need to let go of.
Right. And I think, that that's something super important too, that you're highlighting, is that it's more than just letting go. Especially in divorce, it's letting go of a lot of things, right? It's, it's the life that you had, the husband you thought was, or wife, spouse, let's say,
Right.
the dreams that you had, sometimes the home, the family, like there's all these different aspects that you do have to let go of. And I think that what people don't understand is, number one, I don't think many of us even think about the number of facets that are impacted by a breakup or by divorce. And I think that that's something that you talk about so beautifully in the book is, you literally left your hometown, you were in Chicago for 20 years, you picked up, you moved, you left it all to start, I just got goosebumps, to start over again. And it wasn't just that you lost this man, like you gave up, you walked away from your life, you walked away from your career, you moved to a different town to be closer to family.
My hairstylist.
That's the hardest part, isn't it?
Like, gynecologist. Can I say that on radio? Gynecologist.
Yes, you can. You totally can. But it's true. And I mean, I think it's, again, like, I know we're kind of having joking some fun here and joking, but it's the God honest truth is that, I think that is exactly why people have such a hard time, is because once it happens, you're like, holy shit, I didn't even realize that all this other stuff, it's kind of like that snowball of other things that you realize that you've got to mourn and handle and deal with. And so this is where, sort of the mental preparation comes into play, right? Around what your journey is going to look like. So how did you wrap your mind around that? Because I know in the book you talk about, you were like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And the moving day came and you were like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. It's that moment of regret. And am I making the right choice?
So many thoughts. So when we leave something, I mean, we're leaving a dream. We're leaving parts of ourselves, really. We're leaving enormous components of ourselves in our lives. And we're leaving the hopes, we're leaving the illusions we had set for ourselves that kept us comfortable and safe. It's all about safety. It's all about safety, right? And so, I say in my book, when I talk about epiphanies, because we don't know all the stuff that we're going to have to do after we have that epiphany, and we're ready to see it and we act on it. And I say in my book, I think there is a divine wisdom about epiphanies that has us have no idea what comes after it. Because I think if we really truly understood that, we would never act on those epiphanies. We would continue to shove them down. Yeah. But, it's taking life one chunk at a time, right? So we don't know what's coming after that epiphany. We don't know all the things you have to let go of. Step 5, I say, what else do you have to let go of beyond, like for me, I had to let go of the guy. And then I knew I also had to let go of the life, because if I didn't, it would have been too easy to go back. It would have been too hard to resist or rebuild in the same space. And so, I had to let go holistically in a way that not everybody has to do. Not everybody has to let go of a whole relationship to be successful. I mean, if you're beyond divorce and you are in a new relationship with promise, but there's one thing, there's a spectrum of things that we need to let go of. And I think it's only natural when you do hard things to have moments of regret, moments of questioning. I would say you're in deep, deep, dark denial if you don't ever have those moments. That's just natural, that we are saying, am I making the right decision? This is the whole point of letting go. And to your point, why people don't do it. Because when someone walks up to the edge of a cliff, they want to look over that cliff and see the safety net. And if there's no safety net, it could be fire and brimstone on the edge of that cliff, but they're not jumping, right? The thing that people have to understand, and what is my main point of my book, is you have to be the net. Yes. You are the net, right? So this is what Big Wild Love is. Because letting go is about risk. It's about uncertainty. And it's about no guarantees. Like, you let go of a relationship, you let go of that anger you feel towards your ex. Well, then what are you going to do with all that time on your hands? And then if you're not angry about your ex anymore, who are you? Yeah. Like, who are you? I mean, there's so many big questions and so many big risks and so much loss. Even if you're letting go of someone who's awful, and it's still loss. There's still loss of so much. I mean, and so that's the part that people, I think, fear. But it's okay. It's okay to have loss. It's part of life, and it's okay to question, and it's okay to regret, and it's okay to not be 1,000% sure of anything. You don't have to be 1,000% sure. What you do need to know is that no matter what happens ever in your life, you will always be okay, because you have you, and you are resilient and strong, and you know how to make good choices for yourself, choices that are in your best interests, choices that come from your voice and not the voice of convention or your mother or your ex or anybody telling you you need to be something other than what you are. And when you can cultivate that, then life opens up in a really amazing way. And it's not to say that there aren't heartbreak, and it's not to say that it doesn't get hard. And sometimes, like I launched my book in the middle of a global freaking pandemic, and I could feel myself like going right back to that old talk track that I used to give myself when I was stuck in relationship. Loser. Well, it happens for everyone but you. Of course, there's a global pandemic for the first time, unprecedented. No one will read your book. Like, I had the biggest pity party for myself in the laundry room with a bag of cookies and a box of tissues with the dryer on so nobody could hear me, which is how I meditate, by the way, like a big freak. But I had to feel that. I had to feel that. And then I had to remind myself, okay, are you done now? Do you feel better? Is it out? Is it out? Okay, good. Pick yourself up. Let's go. We still have work to do, like work to do. And so it's all part of the process, but big wild love is really the salve. It really, really is. And that helped me, that cultivation of that and the acknowledgement of, understanding that I was making choices based on a place of fear and lack and scarcity, and that I didn't have to choose that. That was my programming. That was what was given over to me in a very subconscious way.
Yeah.
So if we don't stop to examine that, we'll never know, because we don't access our subconscious every day. That's like, we must be very intentional about that. And so that really helped me a lot. And then just to say, you know what, to take all the pressure off, all the investment in an outcome, and just say, you know what, I'm 41. Like, I don't have the smallest butt in America. I'm going to move on. And if I find love, great. And if I don't, still great, because there's about a gazillion ways to have a happy life. And that's what I did. Yeah.
You did, and set such a beautiful example for so many people. I mean, I love the section about epiphanies, because it is, people don't necessarily understand that that's what they are. We try to ignore them, right? But they're, sometimes they literally, I call them 2x4s that kind of smack us upside the head to be like, time to wake up, right? And what I also love about it is, you have a whole section in here. Of course, I tabbed it because I'm a geek like that. And I like to tab stuff. But, what I think people don't necessarily understand is they don't pay attention to it because they want to ignore it, because it means that, oh, something's changing. I just had a realization. I also use the term interchangeably and say like a breakdown, right? Like, you have a breakdown to a breakthrough. Your epiphany is the breakthrough. And it's something that you get to listen to. You and I were saying before we jumped on how I love metaphors, and there's a ton of metaphors that you use in this book that I'm just like, oh, it's just like these beautiful moments of like, oh God, I love that. Totally makes sense. That, the epiphanies really are the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And you say that in the book, and that it is, and again, I'm getting goosebumps, like it sets you free. These epiphanies set you free. And, it shakes it up. Absolutely. Right. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And the other word that was coming up for me as you were talking was trusting yourself, right? Trusting that you are strong enough as the net to catch yourself, right? And so I think it's really important for people to hear that our epiphanies may not make sense in the moment, but they will over time, as long as you allow yourself to sink into what's on the other side of them, right? And start paying attention. You say, like, be on the lookout. right? Because to me, that's awareness, having awareness of what the universe is showing you and trusting that it is in your best interest, and you will catch yourself no matter what. Because at the end of the day, you know, I say this to my clients all the time, like, when have you bet on yourself and lost? I don't know a single woman, honestly, that hasn't like set her mind to something and went, God, this is going to be really freaking hard. And okay, you may not get it right the first time, but you try again and you figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
And so allowing yourself, I love that you say, like, sitting in uncertainty is where the magic happens. Right. And, you know, and that's what enables you to set your course of action. What's next? What do I do with this information?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's so interesting because I have, again, many thoughts. So
I love that about you.
Yes, no wallflower over here. You know, epiphanies are like, epiphanies, I say that they're the truth inside of us begging for our attention, right? And so if you're not seeing an epiphany, it's because you're not ready to, but it's there. It's gestating inside of you. Totally. It's almost like, it's when it's like a really hot summer night, you know, when you're outside and you're like, was that lightning? Did I just see lightning? And then it goes away. This epiphany, it's like, it can be a slow build where you see that flash, you have that flash of insight, you have it, but you're not ready. You're not ready, because when you see an epiphany that you can't unsee, then you've got to do something about it. And this is why people don't want to see it, even though it's brewing in them. They know. I knew the truth for years. For years, I knew that this wonderful man just didn't want what I did. I knew it. And so I did what a lot of women do, which is like, I'll get thinner, I'll get prettier, I'll get more accommodating, I'll defer my needs more, I'll throw ultimatums, I'll show him what it's like to live without me, I'll rise up, I'll lay down, I'll be a warrior, I'll be a doormat. Like, what do you want? What do I have to do to convince you? And here I'm like, dancing hard, and he's just kind of standing there being who he is, right? This is what we do. We race and we dance around those epiphanies because they are telling us things we just don't want. We don't like it. I don't like the fact that he doesn't want to marry me. Well, that sucks. Or I don't like the fact that my ex is moving on before me. My ex-husband has a girlfriend. Well, I can't even believe that, but it's never about the other person. And when I have, I've had some women who I coach, and they'll say, well, I mean, this guy reached out to me, but I just don't know if I can trust him. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with him. Not a lick. He could be a stick with a head. It's all about you. When you tell me, I don't know if I can trust him, what I hear is, I don't know if I can trust myself. Right. That's right. So it all begins and ends with this concept of what I call big wild love, which is really getting that ground under your feet. Getting that ground under your feet, because everything really does turn on a dime when you do that. It's like, I know when I let go of everything and I started to go out and date again, I no longer went on dates thinking, gosh, I hope he likes me. Now I went on dates and I said, what do you got? I don't know if I'm going to like him. You have to meet my criteria first. Yeah. Because if you don't, I know that what I want is what I deserve and available to me. And that I have the freedom to choose it. So, it is, I love talking about epiphanies. I just think we don't talk about them enough, because I think they're just so fascinating. And I know I had so many of them, and I talk about it in my book. I had so many of them. And we all do. I think we have epiphanies every single day. And I think part of cultivating that big wild love is really learning to trust those instincts and not be afraid of the hard stuff that may come in the short term, knowing that if you listen, if you pay attention, because our bodies know stuff. they just know. They know when it's time to let go. They know when it's wrong. They know when we need to be following and aligning ourselves with a different truth. They're always trying to tell us what to do. And we really need to learn, how to pay better attention or acknowledge and honor what we know the message is that's coming through to us. And it's hard. It's no judgment. It's really hard because we're super conditioned out of it, but our bodies are we are wired to survive this life. Like, we just are physiologically wired for it.
Hey, it's Wendy here. I wanted to take a quick break from the conversation to let you know about another free event I'm hosting on Tuesday, September 29th about divorce and narcissism. If you're somebody who is divorcing a narcissist or someone with narcissistic characteristics, this is something you don't want to miss. You will learn what you need to know before you divorce a narcissist, how to successfully negotiate with one, learn financial hacks, how to set boundaries and co-parent with a narcissist, and so much more. The event is free and it's live, and all you have to do is register today by visiting divorceandnarcissism.com. Again, the event is live on Tuesday, September 29th, so block your calendar today. And now let's jump back into the conversation. You bring up so many thoughts are coming to my mind about what you're saying. Big surprise. That's why I'm like, this could be like a 2 podcast episode. What's coming up for me with what you're saying are a couple of things, right? Is that I believe that one of the reasons why we don't pay attention to the epiphanies is because it's not only scary, right? Because it's telling us something that we don't necessarily want to admit, but what it's also doing is that it is questioning, and this is something else you talk about, and I talk about it all the time, is it's testing the limiting beliefs that you have been living by your whole life. And until you're willing to take a stand, right? Your limiting beliefs are based on, I was saying before we started getting on to do this recording, is that, limiting beliefs are about living life looking in the rearview mirror, right? Versus the epiphanies are sort of the like bump in the road that it's like trying to rejigger you to like look ahead, stop looking in the rearview mirrors, like if that's not serving you anymore, right? With where it is that your destination is. And I'm going to throw one more thing on top of it too, because you talk about this also in the book, is that once you're able to conquer and sort of change the conversation in your mind around those limiting beliefs, is the way that you're able to do that really is by setting goals, which so many people don't do because they don't have a destination in mind, right? So a lot of what I believe you talk about, I do this in my coaching practice too, is in order for you to get to change the conversation in your mind, to let go of those limiting beliefs, you have to have goals. So to stop looking in the rearview mirror, you have to have a destination that you are trying to, attain. And I also say that, what you think, you create. So if you're thinking limiting beliefs all the frickin' time, guess what you're creating? A life that is centered around your limiting beliefs. Versus an epiphany, oh my God, I have been sacrificing myself this entire marriage. What the hell am I doing? Right? I now get to focus on me. My goal is to start doing things for me. And there's your goal. That's your destination from the epiphany. And I'm going to let go of this limiting belief of like, you're not worthy. Yes, I am. Right. Like, I feel like there's like this, it's like a triad of, epiphany, limiting belief, and then goals, because they all play into each other in a very finite order. And I also want to point out, and you say this in your book so beautifully, it's not that this is over. It's not like, oh, check the box, did this, like now this never comes up for me. It's wait, when it comes up, like, oh, I know what to do now. Right. And I think that that's what people are also, talking about 15 different things, but like, I want people who are listening to understand that, these are tools. Okay. Jill has a book with tools. Just like, you know, I give my clients tools that help and assist you on your journey. Your journey is never over. It's just you have to get into the practice. You have to become more aware. You have to build your trust. And as Jill says, you know, it starts, I'm getting goosebumps again. Geez, what is going on in this call today? So much divineness. But like, it starts with loving yourself. Big wild love starts with you. And that's what you attract. And until you have the big wild love for you, you're not going to attract a big wild love recipient, right?
Right. Well, yeah. And of course, so many thoughts on all of this.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I just talked about 15 things. There's so much richness.
You know, but it's really about, and I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, it's really about being woke to yourself.
Yes.
It really is, because, you know, big wild love is self-love. It is the love to aim for. It is the guiding light. It is the North Star, right? And so, you know, I mean, I say, you know, in the book that so often, you know, we don't know what we believe. We don't think about what we believe. We don't reflexively, when something goes wrong, be like, oh, which one of my limiting beliefs got me there? Like, we're not conditioned for that. You know,
right.
It's like when cavemen heard people rustling in the bushes, they didn't stop and say, what do I believe about that rustle? They were like, holy shit, get me a knife. I'm going to get eaten. And so, because they didn't have the language to stop and say, is what I'm hearing true?
Right.
They didn't have that luxury, but their instincts were to act and be self-protective. That's how we're wired. But in this modern day with language, we have the ability to say, oh, I'm feeling danger. Is that really true? Or I'm feeling like I can only have X because of X. But is that really true? Limiting beliefs are only true if we say they're true. And before we even can say they're true, we actually have to know that we have them. And by the way, we all have them.
All of us.
And we have to understand where they come from. And then we have to eliminate and revise them so that they work for us. And then we have to remain ever vigilant for those old beliefs to come creeping their way back in. Because we get those beliefs in childhood because they help us to survive in our family dynamic. Everything we do is about safety. Everything. Every choice we make until we're woke is about safety. I am going to align with this limiting belief because it kept me safe inside of my family. It must be keeping me safe as an adult, even though this is not a conscious thought process. This is all happening subconsciously, right? I am going to hold on because I might not like what I have, but I know it and it's familiar and it's safe. So I'm just going to stay right here in my lane because that cliff looks scary and I'm afraid of heights. Okay. It's all about safety. What I am proposing is maybe we are our own safety. Not maybe. I believe that we are holistically our own safety. But if we get on the bus and we go to sleep in the back and the bus stops somewhere where we never wanted to be, and we wake up and say, how did I get here? That's the epiphany moment. That's when we wake up and we're like, holy shit, I'm in a neighborhood I don't want to be in. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I have to make a big choice. Do I get off the bus? Do I stay on the bus? Where's the bus going from here? And how the hell did I get here in the first place? Exactly. Those are the questions because they then lead to the whole, how did I get here? What do I believe to be true about me and my life? And that's the journey that then, you know, once we can understand that, and then we can pick that goal that you are talking about, right? Then we know who we are, and we know what's guiding us. And we know that as we get to the hard things on the way to that goal, we know to be vigilant for those limiting beliefs and old wounds that can't wait to come cropping their way back up because we've had them for so long. They're like the dull hum that runs under our engine. And so some of them never go away. Some of them will, but some of them don't. And that's, you know, when I let go of everything and I moved and I started to date again, I had all kinds of limiting beliefs coming back. not a perfect size 6, who's going to want me. I had new limiting beliefs. I'm old now. Like in my day, when I was growing up, there was an article that if you were over 40 and looking for love, and wanting to get married, you had a better chance of being killed by a terrorist or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous. And, you just,
Yeah.
we are such fascinating and complicated creatures, but we're not so complicated that we can't better understand ourselves to be able to get where we want to go and create, have the big wild love, to create big wild loving lives. And to your point, attract big wild loving partners, because we want people just like us, people who have done the work, people who are healthy. And so, if you are divorcing or you're ready for love again, and you're saying, I'm not going out there because I know what love can be like, but you're looking for something different, and it might make the pool smaller, but it's going to make the pool better.
Exactly. Which isn't a bad thing. And, I want to highlight also, the creating new beliefs, right? Letting go of our limiting beliefs and creating new beliefs. Jill has an amazing step-by-step in the book on how it is that you get to create and put new beliefs into practice. It literally is a step-by-step. She gives you a schedule. It is magnificent. It is a really healthy exercise that, again, I think everybody needs to buy this book and do this work. And you also have, everybody who, listen on Audible, do whatever you need to do for you. And there in the book itself, there's charts. Like, you help people, you give them questions to ask themselves, and you give like notes on like, okay, well, if this is the answer to this question, then this is the answer to the next question, and so on. Like, you give examples to support people in moving through this process of really falling back in love with themselves. As you said, love is the most important thing, and taking back control over loving yourself and knowing your value, knowing your worth, and not settling like we all have for so long in what it is that we deserve. And this book is incredible, Jill. Like, truly, I know, and I'm
Wendy.
not just blowing smoke. Like, I
really appreciate that.
I couldn't stop reading this. And as I was going, I was like, oh my God, this is totally true. Oh my God, yes. And the way that she has it laid out is so easy. It's so user-friendly. And I just want to tell everybody, please go buy this book. It is unbelievably helpful. We all deserve the opportunity to fall back in love with ourselves, and to, as you say, like, let go for it. And to me, that it is love. It is loving yourself. It is trusting yourself, and knowing your worth. And you've been such a beautiful example of that in your own life, and the transparency of your thoughts and feelings and emotions and story in this book along the way, along with people that have contacted you. Because most importantly, you're not alone. You're not the only one.
No.
Oh my God. Any of this, right?
No. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I hear from each week. It is just constant, and of all ages. And, I wrote the book I wish I had when I was younger, because it really is like, there's no magic bullet to love, although I think there is a magic bullet to love, because once you have, it's self-love for self-love's sake, but it's also self-love, big wild love, so that you can invite in all the things you want. Like, once you have that big wild love, leaving a relationship gets less scary. Divorcing gets less scary. What comes next gets less scary. What you want in the next relationship, or in work, or in career, or friendship, or health, or mindset, as you broaden out your life, as you conceive of what does your life look like beyond divorce, where you leave that big part of yourself behind. And then you're like, okay, I'm not Jill and so anymore. Now I'm just Jill.
Yeah.
What happens now? where do I go next? And how do I manifest what happens next? When you have self-love, it just starts to get a little bit more reflexive because you're no longer drawn to or attracted to that which you need to fear or mistrust.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my spiel. I feel like I should drop a mic or something.
I know. I was like, drop the mic. That was no. And I think that's a beautiful way for us to close this, even though I want to talk for another hour with you. So we may have to talk about, because there's this whole other section in the book about let go-ables. I love that word, by the way. So we may have to like, do this again.
Anytime.
And do a part 2 for you. But, I want everybody to also know how they can find you, where they can get access to the book, that literally you all need to buy now.
Yay!
It doesn't matter where you're at. You get to read this and do the work. So how can people find you and get access to the book? Please share.
Yes. So they can find me at my website, which is letgoforit.com. They can buy the book anywhere books are sold: Amazon, your local bookstore. I think it's on Target, Bookshop, all those places, on Audible, and all the platforms that have audiobooks. And if you get it and you like it, Amazon reviews are golden nickels. So we authors love that. They help us so much. And to help other readers, give an honest review. So if they're looking for the similar kind of support, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Let Go For It. I'm on LinkedIn at Jill Sherer Murray. Always love to hear from you there. Twitter, not so much. I'm not really a Twitter girl. TikTok, no, I'm tired. Like I can only do, Facebook and Instagram already. I sleep well. Pinterest, no, YouTube, I have a cute little YouTube channel, but I don't really do that much. I need to get better with all of that. I just, I'm just trying to spread the gospel.
Little TEDx talk that,
right.
has millions of views on it. Just, drop that in there too. Just
my cute little TEDx talk. Who knew?
So.
Yes.
Well, Jill, as always,
so fun.
I love and adore you. And it has been such an honor oh, thanks, honey. It's been such an honor to just watch your journey. And, you teased that this book was coming when we met. And it is truly, I'm like a giddy little schoolgirl because she autographed mine. And it's personalized and it means the world to me. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Jill, I love and adore you. And the message that you share in this book and the guide is invaluable. It is a resource that I'm tabbing and using with my clients in recommending that they read this book. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. So fun. Mwah.
I love you so much, and I can't wait till we get to be near each other because we're on opposite ends of the country and finally can actually meet in person. Right. One of these days. Exactly.
I hold out hope. Yeah.
Me too. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. And I am sending you all lots of love, light, and joy. Mwah. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorced Woman's Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, please share this episode with someone you know or spread the word on social media. This is how I reach more divorcees around the world and provide them with the support they need to create their next best life. And I would also love to continue the conversation with you. So please friend me on Facebook, join my private Facebook group, The Divorce Rehab, and follow me on Instagram at Divorce Rehab with Wendy. I'll see you next time.